trust in the blessing of the priest. Even though it's not manifesting, God is doing things. Now, just the other night, Tuesday night, at John Vianney's, I'm praying over a couple, and the wife called me back and said her husband, who hasn't been to the prayer group but that one night, and this is for about 5 or 6 years, finally he comes, and he's had a back condition. And she left a message on my machine a couple days ago saying, yeah, Dan felt this heat, your hand was on fire. Well, I don't feel any of this stuff, see? I don't feel it. People say, can you smell this? Do you see that? I'm like, no. You know, do you see this in the picture if you turn the picture this way? And I'm like, no. So he said, he felt this, your hand was on fire. See, I appreciate when people tell me this because it helps me believe. You know, you guys think we priests believe. I mean, I was called to be a priest. That I know and that I believe. But the work of the priest, I didn't see how it manifested itself, how it worked. You know how I was blessing people. I'm like, oh, let's get this over with so I can go get a burger or a taco. Anyway. So these things didn't happen or manifest themselves as much unless people told me what their experience was. Well, I'm going to fast forward a little bit because now I'm trusting more and more in the prayers and the blessings of the priest. Mariana is always constantly saying, you know, ask for the prayer of the blessing of the priest. The priest's hands are very special, and ask for those blessings. Even though you don't feel it, you're getting something. When I met Colleen after her healing, she had recounted some stories where she was praying over people in Ireland when she was telling her story in Ireland, her conversion story, and she had heard the Lord say to her, pray over this next person, but don't judge this person. And this person came to her, and it was a possessed person, and the eyes were really scary, freaky looking. So she just prayed over this person, and the person left. And that was basically it. But she called to tell me this experience, because there were a number of other experiences where she had been coming across some of the demonic. Well, her powerful gift, and I'm pretty much recognizing this in others who've had gifts of healing. People who've been healed is an outpouring of the Holy Spirit, like on Blessed Mother when she was pregnant with Jesus. You know, there's an outpouring of the Holy Spirit upon her, obviously. And anybody who receives a miracle like that, it's an outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And lo and behold, probably every time, but at least many times, there's gifts of the Spirit that came with that outpouring of the Spirit. And Colleen's gift was quite powerful, and so quite powerful are her gifts. And they've been confirmed. Cardinal George knows of her story. The exorcists of Rome are aware of her healing and deliverance gifts. Not of Rome, of Chicago. We have an exorcist in Chicago, in case you didn't know. Thank God. I remember when Cardinal George first came to Chicago in '98, I asked him, I knew of one incident I was having difficulty with somebody, and Andy had a gift for deliverance too, Andy Zavko. Usually in 20 minutes or longer, depending on what the involvement was, he would be able to deliver somebody, exorcise somebody of an evil spirit. He did about 150 of them in his lifetime. But there was one that was a difficult situation, and I had brought it to the Cardinal's attention when he first came to Chicago, and he had said, well, we have an exorcist now in Chicago. I said, we do? He says, yes, I'm appointing him on September 29th. This was in '98, which is the feast of St. Michael. I'm like, wow, I was impressed, because that means the Cardinal believes, right? I mean, most bishops don't have exorcists. I don't know how much they believe in all of this. But when you encounter the Blessed Mother in Medjugorje, you'll also encounter the evil one. That's why I always, on all my trips, protect everybody with spectaculars and Benedict medals and crosses and all of those sacramentals, because we're walking into spiritual battle. Many spiritual graces and many fruit and joyful events, but also the devil's going to attack. And you've got to be ready for this black and white, light and darkness kind of thing, you know. So this one couple events had happened over the last few years where I had been blessing houses. Now I'm taking a little bit more seriously blessing houses ever since my third trip to Medjugorje, because I'm beginning to see this activity of the devil. And over the years, too, based on some books by Father Gabriel Amorth in Rome, that's where I got that understanding of putting either miraculous medals or Benedict medals. I kind of like, because there's an exorcism on that medal, on the four corners of your property. He says, forms of protection over your house. There's a Mexican fella in my Tuesday night prayer group in Northlake. He said, Father Troy, there's some activity in my house. I said, well, I don't have time to come there till next week to do a house blessing. I said, here, put these four Benedict medals around the house for now, and I'll bless it next week. So he did, and he came back and he reported before I even blessed it. He said, Father, I put those medals around the corners of the house. And he said, as soon as I finished it, it sounded like the picture window of the front room crashed open, broken. I said, did it? He said, no, but it sounded like it. I said, oh, that means the devil's gone now. I don't have to come bless it. Because oftentimes what I had experienced, beginning here in Bartlett, actually was my first experience with this back probably in 92 or 3. I blessed a house, and they were in our prayer groups, and the couple up on Lake Zurich and the couple in Bartlett here said, when you left, Father, it sounded like there was a crash that broke upstairs on the second floor. Thought the cat knocked it over. So we went up there, and there was no broken vase. The cat wasn't anywhere around. I'm like, So that was the beginning of me beginning to recognize some of this stuff, because we weren't taught any of this stuff, right? So it's kind of hands-on experience. I went to, well, let me start it this way. At St. Peter Damian in Bartlett, which is Colleen's parish, they had the Millennium statue of Our Lady there in the parking lot. And the pastor there, who I knew from college days, actually high school days, we had worked together as custodians in grammar schools in Wilmette and Winnetka at the time. So here he is now pastor, and a lot of Chicago priests don't know what to do with all this Medjugorje stuff. They don't know what to do with you types, you know, and or me. So this pastor at the parish was kind of like, oh, I don't know about, you know, because they wanted a procession with Our Lady and a procession with the Eucharist. Well, we don't do this procession unless you're an Italian in an Italian parish in an Italian neighborhood. You've never seen a procession, you know, or a Mexican in a Mexican parish in a Mexican neighborhood. Maybe a Polish here or there, you know. But the American, the more American you get, the more Protestant it's looking and the less devotional it's getting. So the pastor says, well, if we're going to do that, get Father Charlie, because he'll know what to do with processions and things. So he called me up, and I said, sure, fine. And I'm just learning how to do this, because like I said, in the beginning, I didn't even know how to pray a rosary. So I'm learning. And in the planning of the event that day, there were two moms that worked on staff there, and we were planning the day, and we got talking about evil manifestations. I don't know how we got talking about it, but the one mom was saying, my daughter just is a freshman at Iowa, University of Iowa Hawkeyes, and just moved in. This was mid-August. And they said there's manifestations in their apartment. The cabinet doors are opening and closing, and the faucets are going on and off. I go, really? I said, well, gosh, you know, there's 3 girls in there, 2 Catholics and a Methodist. And the Methodist girl thought she saw a little girl waving at her at the end of the hallway in this apartment. So I said, well, I'll come out right away, you know. No, we want moms to come with you when you come at Labor Day.